to introduce Rob Anderson, who's Dean of Students for the University. And he's interested to hear what you've got to say.
Yeah, just to say, as you've just heard, I'm Rob Anderson, Dean of Students. I'm based at Davis Street, and my role is a university-wide role. And one of the things I do, which I guess partly brings me here this afternoon, is to look at student feedback coming in all different sizes, shapes and forms. And I'm also, I think, here to say that the university does take this very seriously, takes your issues very seriously, and I wouldn't be here if it didn't. I've also spoken to Jane Rapley, head of college, this morning, and you probably know this already, but she's agreed to meet
No, you haven't.
Okay, all right. Well, then I can report back to you that she has agreed to meet a group of you. She suggests 5 next Tuesday morning at Southampton Road. The university's policy on personal tutorials is 1 per term, at least, and sometimes depending on the offer, this is a minimum. 1 per term of 20 minutes.
Well, we were offered more, hadn't we?
Can I just ask, in those courses where the minimum of 1 per term is offered, are the students satisfied with that? Ever?
Well, all I'm saying to you is that that's the policy of the university. Right, I can't. Yeah. But, you know, some are and some aren't, is the answer to that.
Surely that's in complete contradiction to what's offered in the handbook.
Yeah, and what we thought we were getting, and what we did get in the first year.
And therefore, in essence, that would be a breach of contract, because we're signing into this by handing our money over. This is a signed contract, and then by not providing what you said you would in the contract, you're breaching it, and in essence, illegal.
No decisions can be made other than those decisions made by Jane on Tuesday, because she is controlling the resources. All of the things, almost everything you've said apart from the communications one, and that just has to get better.
And there's no point having any meetings until we see her.
Yeah. Well, as I said to you, the point for me is to hear a little bit more and understand a little bit better about what you're saying, so I can communicate it.
But it's not actually going to get us anywhere, is it?
Well, not this afternoon, no.
Okay.
And, you know, as I said before, that's why I started off by saying it's really important to have that meeting with Jane, because she's controlling resources for the college. I said that at the beginning.
Getting a meeting with Jane any earlier than Tuesday.
That's the first slot she had. I spoke to her today about it. That's the first slot.
We can have it whenever she wants, really. We're staying here until we get decisions.
Well, you know, that's your decision, isn't it? Well, broadly speaking, yes, but the budget is decided upon by HEFCE on a yearly basis. So the funding settlement is and this is to the whole of higher education, obviously not just to this institution. So the budget is decided by, the overall budget to the institution is decided by HEFCE, HE Funding Council for England, on a yearly basis. So the university gets a sum of money. The university then obviously has control about how it disperses that money.
What is that?
And that can change. That can change from year to year. It doesn't radically change, but it can change around the edges. And the only way you can grow that is by having more students, because you're funded on the basis of the number of students that you have and what would represent adequate funding to courses. Because you can spend the money. You know, you can trim the budget of the library, or trim the budget of the IT department, or trim the budget of student services, or trim the budget of HR department, therefore releasing more. That's a university decision.
Well,
that's the
we
point.
believe it should be our decision too, that we should be part of that decision. Because
I'm not sure how that could possibly work, frankly. No, I think it's a real issue. I mean, I think there is a real issue about how higher education is funded. You know, it's not so many years
ago.
It's not
just how it's funded.
It's where that money is spent, but where that money that comes in is then
spent. Yes,
but
it is how it's funded, because in the end what we're doing is providing more for less, because the unit of resource, which is all you guys around this table, you bring money with you into the university because you're the unit of resource. You're how the universities got funded, all right? So if there are more students for the same, roughly speaking, the same amount of money, then what it is more for less, isn't it? Simply put, you know, we're asked to educate more students for the same amount of money, which means, if you like, less of an experience for those students. So there is an issue. I mean, there is a national issue. about the funding of higher education.
You just said that more students meant more funding, so how's that more for less?
Because the unit of resource doesn't increase. Your educate. You know, many years ago, when I was a student, not even go back that far, but even 10 years ago, the kind of experience of higher education was very different in that there were less students in it, but the average unit of resource was better. So in other words, there was more money per student, if you like.
I see.
The only way to increase funding is getting more students, but the unit of resource in
But the
terms of what
fees on
students
the
bring
other,
with them
on the other hand
have
are
gone
going up,
Yeah,
supposedly to compensate for that.
yeah. We struggle with, of course, as a university, is that we're multi-sited, that the university has taken the approach that it will, up till now at least anyway, retain the small identities of colleges. If this college had merged with a different university, you wouldn't be sitting here now, you'd be in a Faculty of Art and Design somewhere in North London. That's the fact of the matter. Now, I'm not saying shouldn't that make you all pleased. I'm just saying it's a fact of the matter is that what this university has done, and you can see it with Byam Shaw and you can see it with Wimbledon, is to try to maintain the individual identity, by which I mean the site identity more than anything, I guess, of those institutions. As I say, if Wimbledon had merged with Kingston, which it might have done, those students would now be sitting in a Faculty of Art and Design in Kingston. They would not be sitting at Wimbledon. And if this institution, this college had merged with another institution, that would be the same for you guys as well.
You can't say that for sure.
I can say it, well, I'm willing to bet my mortgage on it, because what's happened, if you look at what's happened in higher education in the UK, small institutions have not survived. But that's that's one of the dilemmas in running a big multi-sited federal institution. You're talking about money. One of the ways of managing effectively is how you effectively deploy the resource that you've got.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you could suddenly, you know, I don't want to go off point, but it is a factor. If you want to talk about money and resources, this is a factor. If in some imaginary world you could sweep up the University of the Arts London, put it on one campus, you'd get much better use of the resources that you could deploy. You'd have one central library for a start. You know, it goes without saying that what we're trying to do is to make this work in a federal model, and that has some resource implications to it. I'm not saying that that's an excuse for any of this. I'm just saying that's part of our reality as a federal institution in London.
There's a campaign called Better Education is Possible, and it's a kind of united front thing, and the ideas behind it are basically to stop the attacks on education in terms of budget cuts and staffing things, which is fun. And this kind of occupation is the first one that's happened in recent years regarding the issue of budget cuts in education and attacks on the kind of tutoring we're getting. So this is actually quite an important thing that's going on here in terms of the national student movement. I'm in contact with people who are helping to run it, and if the group agrees, I could try and get speakers in. I could aim for Tony Benn, but I can't promise that. But we should be able to get some speakers in from the movement. But I didn't want to do that without asking anyone. So would you like me to phone them and see if I can get some contact?